from the Community Church of Boston. If I stood out in the rain, night, my only light a candle, a million miles away, would you lay down your fire as I raised mine? Would you not kill again? From the singing of my friend Cindy Callett. I love to start the program with that. Welcome to Community Church of Boston, a peace and justice congregation since 1920, 105 years of good trouble. We keep inventing new slogans, but that's our most recent one. It's ever since the passing of our beloved John Lewis. We also grieve this morning the passing of Dr. Jean Gallo, formerly known as Sister Jean Gallo. In the 80s, when she spoke a number of times at Community Church when we were meeting at Morse Auditorium at Boston University, just a beloved, fearless, fierce defender of the poor and the vulnerable. I just have wonderful memories of Jean. We have in the chat a couple of links to talks that both Jean, as well as Jean and Sonny Robinson, Jean's partner, gave here at the church. The most recent one is just so relevant in this very moment, and it's about immigrants and immigration and the terrible dangers they face. I say, and you say after me, presente. Jean Gallo, presente.
Presente.
Presente. That's what they say in Central America, which is where Jean had a lot of connections. I remember her talking about her connections with the 4 churchwomen who were assassinated in 1980 in El Salvador at the beginning of that horrific conflict. A couple of them were from Jean's same order, which was the Sisters of Notre Dame. And she felt that deeply, and more recently went to an anniversary commemoration of their murder in 1980. I had sent out an email. There was an announcement about Jean's passing, and Sonny sent out an email to some 50 people. And I sent a reply to all of them saying, if you would like to say a word about Jean on our Zoom this morning, please feel free. And I want to see if any folks joined and wanted to say a word in tribute and memory of this remarkable activist. Well, then I will say again, Jean Gallo, presente, presente, presente. We are at the very end of a very busy weekend at Community Church. Friday night, we hosted live in person here Colonel Larry Wilkerson and what was his title? What's Dennis's title? Command Chief Dennis Fritz. The two of them were here, and both of them having been in high places during the George W. Bush administration in the months leading up to the invasion of the Iraq War, and telling us in person the lies that were concocted to get us into the worst tragedy of this century for the United States of America. The 4,500 dead, how many tens of thousands walking wounded in our streets even today. Larry Wilkerson and Dennis Fritz, and it's funny to be able to not have to announce it, but to, in retrospect, tell you that it is recorded and you can see it on our YouTube channel. It's just really worth the time. Worth the time to hear their messages on Friday night. Then last night, we had what was called the Peña, which is a Latin American style open mic, but we reverted to a Seder. these two wonderful twin sisters, both aged 27, led a anti-Zionist liberation Seder, and they brought tons of food, and they brought a Haggadah, which is sort of the order of service for the Seder. And there were 3 tables of us here, and they led us through the Haggadah, and then we had this enormous feast. A lot of food was left over, and we're going to enjoy it this morning after our program here. So I just want to send out just an incredible thank you to Sarah and Julia Lieberger, who arranged for this and did a ton of work and brought, let's say, 5 or 6 young anti-Zionist Jews who are all very deeply into the beauty of their cultural and religious roots, and some of them secular, some of them practicing, but all with the common thread of anti-Zionism. And it was just beautiful to have these young folks here with us. I can't say enough and can't thank Julia and Sarah, as well as Sandra Harris, our president, and Antoine Castro del Rio, who also cooked up a storm and left the place neat for us this morning. It was just a lot of food and a lot of work, and all worth the while for that Liberation Seder. And now today we have another just a remarkable event featuring Phil Tourney from the USS Liberty Survivors Organization. I forgot the exact title of that, but you get what it is. And icing on the cake is that we have live from England, from a club where he's going to play tonight, David Rovics, who is our musical guest today. He's going to say hello. And we're going to play during the course of this program 4 of David's amazing history songs about everything that comes our way. It's just incredible what a prolific people's troubadour our friend David Rovics is. Whenever he's in town, we drop everything and we host David here at the church. David, I wanted to tell you also that while I was wounded with my fall and fracture, your lovely sister offered me a free massage, and I haven't taken her up on it, and I am so grateful for that as well. And to all of you who wished me well, I will tell you that I'm on a really, really wonderful recovery path, feeling better every day, and hopefully 100% in a few weeks. And I'm standing here in front of you, and I couldn't even have done that about 4 weeks ago. So I'm just full of gratitude about that, and full of gratitude that we have David Rovics joining us from England. Hi, David.
Hey, Dean. It's a great honor to be back with you guys at the church. Although I wish I could be there physically singing with an actual guitar in the room there, but rather than being in a pub in England, but it's a lovely pub. And yeah, I was especially glad to be invited to be participating in this particular service because I'm a big fan of Phil's, and I'm very much looking forward to hearing everything he has to say. And just in the minute we were talking before, when he mentioned all these wars being fought on behalf of Israel, I have to say that having not yet heard what he has to say, I agree entirely. And I know Chris Hedges does, and there's a lot of other people coming to these conclusions, which are very alarming conclusions. But I don't know, as Chris Hedges says, the greatest crime humanity has committed against other members of humanity this century is happening right now in Gaza, being committed by Israel, and it's hard to figure out what U.S. foreign policy is without taking into account that it seems to be so much of it being conducted on behalf of another country. But yeah, so that's what you'll be hearing. The songs that you'll be hearing are very much related to that. And of course, the first song you'll be hearing is related to somebody from the Northeast in Columbia University, who, as everybody I'm sure is already aware, has been now deported from Louisiana back to Syria as of a couple days ago, or at least the judge said he would now be deported. I don't know if he's actually left the country yet, but they're deporting permanent residents for their political activities specifically related to Israel. Always too much to write about, but that's what you'll be hearing about, including a song about the USS Liberty massacre.
Yeah, go ahead.
Say they're criminals, our neighbors who came to raise their families, clean houses, drive trucks, work in factories. You round them up and take them off in military planes, carrying out your solemn vow back from where they came. But why is it always the poorest of the poor are the ones upon whom we're declaring war? And what if we took back what was never really theirs? Nationalize the banks and deport the billionaires. Capital to invest in things we need. Housing, food, and healthcare, they've got it all indeed. It's all wrapped up in investments and shooting to the moon. And if things go as they're going, they'll have more of it soon. But why is it always the poorest of the poor are the ones upon whom we're declaring war? And what if we took back what was never really theirs? Nationalize the banks and deport the billionaires. Say you'll fix the rising prices that are making us all frown. If you deport our neighbors, maybe rents go down. But I've done the math, and scientists agree. If we nationalize those billions, we can all live here rent-free. And why is it always the poorest of the poor are the ones upon whom we're declaring war? And what if we took back what was never really theirs? Nationalize the banks and deport the billionaires. Nationalize the banks and deport the billionaires. Nationalize the banks and deport the billionaires.
David Rovics, thank you. That song was not the Mahmoud Khalil song, but it was just as beautiful. Nationalize the banks, deport the billionaires. We'll do the Mahmoud song next after just a couple of announcements. I forgot to tell you that we also had another event Thursday. So this is a 4-day in a row kind of a extravaganza here at Community Church. Thursday, we featured Jody Evans from Code Pink. April 10th, every 10th of the month, we feature a talk from somebody related to John F. Kennedy's speech on June 10th, 1963. When he talked so tellingly and wisely about rapprochement with the Soviet Union and lay down your fire sort of thing that we have in the song that we sing at the beginning. So it was Jody Evans Thursday, Dennis Fritz and Lawrence Wilkerson Friday, Seder on Saturday, and now USS Liberty. So it's really a full feast. We have, yeah, I was about to say that. This Friday, we have retired Ambassador Chaz Freeman, who we've had before, a wonderful speaker and very astute commentator. Join us next Friday for Chaz Freeman. That's a virtual program. Also coming up is this is the most nepotistic one. Tristan Jackson lived with us for for 2 years while he was attending Sloan School of Management at MIT, and very environmental sustainability oriented study at MIT, where he learned how to be a business executive, I guess. He works now for the indigenous tribes of the Maritimes of Canada, figuring out their resources and how to deploy their resources in a sustainable way. He and I have an ongoing dialogue, debate, argument about nuclear power. I say, no, thank you, never. He says it's the only way we can get to sustainability. So it's quite a controversy. There are a few others, pretty well-known people that I've heard say the same thing, like Max Blumenthal or Oliver Stone. Those are two that I think of immediately. But we will hear from Tristan, and he is a brilliant, one of the smartest people I've ever ran into, and much less lived with for 2 years while he was going to college or getting his MBA. Tristan Jackson is next Sunday. The week after that, April 27th, we celebrate Earth Day, Earth Month, with Derek Jackson, who was a longtime columnist for the Boston Globe, wrote especially on issues of race and also issues of sports. He was a sports journalist as well as a columnist. He's now retired, and his obsession is puffins. Puffins. That's what we'll be talking about, is his efforts on behalf of those beautiful little birds that live on the islands of Maine. And we will be joined that day by my friend Owen Kennedy, who is a songwriter obsessed with birds and has written hundreds of songs about a lot of different species of birds and bird behaviors and bird song. It'll be a wonderful day, April 26th. Finally, to announce May 4th will be Miko Peled. He will be here in person, and he will be joined by Jill Stein, and they'll be talking about Palestine and Washington, D.C., the politics of genocide. I really hope you can join us for that. Miko has been with us a couple of times before. Once when we gave the Sacco and Vanzetti Award to the Holy Land Foundation, the two of whom are still in prison after 25 years or something like that. It's just a crazy thing. Anyway, Miko will be back with us. He's now the director or executive director of the Palestine House of Freedom, which is a new institution just opened in Washington, D.C., very close to the center of all things, government, right there near the Capitol. Miko Peled, May 4th. So that's the announcements about upcoming stuff here at the church. And my customary reading, Eduardo Galeano from Uruguay. This is called the Children of the Days, and there's an entry for every day of the year. And it just so happens that with my obsession with this author, Calvin Airy has been bugging me to bring in books by him. I happen to have a whole box of them, and we picked out where we had duplicates, and these books that we found are going to prisoners. Calvin is deeply involved in a prison book program, and so I'm really glad that those books will be in good hands soon. I've several versions of some of the books. I have them in English. I have them in Spanish. It's a wonderful author to know about, Eduardo Galeano. And here's his submission for April 13th. The title is "We Knew Not How to See You." In the year 2009, in the atrium of the convent of Mani in Yucatan, 42 Franciscan brothers held a ceremony of restitution for injuries caused to indigenous culture. quote, "We ask forgiveness of the Maya people for not having understood their worldview, their religion, for denying their divinities, for not having respected their culture, for having imposed over many centuries a religion they did not understand, for having treated as satanic their religious practices, for having said and written that these were the work of the devil and that their idols were Satan himself in the flesh," unquote. 4.5 centuries before, in that very place, another Franciscan brother, Diego de Landa, had burned the Mayas' books, and with them 8 centuries of collective memory. Eduardo Galeano. So we get to hear 2 more songs from David. And we start with Mahmoud Khalil. And then we go into the song about the topic of the day. We can probably just run them straight one after the other, Amar. Mahmoud Khalil and the day they bombed the USA, I think is the proper name. And thank you again, David Rovics, for sharing these songs with us and for being present, even though you're about to start a gig in England somewhere. Mahmoud Khalil.
Mahmoud Khalil was born a refugee. Last December he got a master's degree. He was a student at Columbia when the war began. To be expelled and deported had not been the plan. But sometimes you have to step up, and that's what he did. His training started early as a little kid. Growing up in Syria in a slice of Palestine, exiled by 1949. Mahmoud Khalil spoke oftentimes before the press who came to cover this protest against the war. The tents which got exactly the attention that they sought, to speak out against the destruction our country's policies have wrought. As the bombs kept falling on the children down below, some people had to do something, and the place where they could go was the protest camp. And that's where people went, and that's where you could find him with the backdrop of tents. Mahmoud Khalil was at home with his pregnant wife when one day came the visit that would change his life. Trump said he'd deport them, and now he's following through. ICE agents came and got him, as they were sent to do, with no uniforms or warrants, just an order for a raid. A week into Israel's complete blockade, they say he supports the resistance, though nothing can be found aside from horror at the buildings in Gaza collapsing to the ground. Mahmoud Khalil is in detention, they're not saying where. For evidence against him, they've not a tweet to share. ICE agents on the campus, what's next nobody knows, with an administration happy whichever way it goes. And silence from the Congress, except for 1 or 2. The leadership apparently thinks it's a fine thing to do, to suspend the rule of law in defense of genocide. The future possibilities are open wide. Mahmoud Khalil. It was the 8th of June, 67, in the middle of the Six-Day War. The international waters off the sands of the Mediterranean shore, they were executing prisoners by a mosque in the Sinai. And that day scores of Egyptian soldiers' bodies there would lie. The IDF was trying to cover up their war crimes, and the USS Liberty saw it all in real time. So the Israeli Air Force got the orders, bombs away, when Israel attacked the USA. 1,000-pound bombs, and then what they do is drop napalm to burn down the ship along with the crew. After all that, the ship's still afloat, came the IDF's torpedo boats. All the survivors remember the day when Israel attacked the USA. When the sailors lowered escape rafts down to the water, they were met with an aerial slaughter as the IDF attacked all those trying to flee from the fires raging throughout the Liberty. A Soviet ship offered to assist as eventually the Israeli bombers would desist. Somehow the ship managed to limp into the bay when Israel attacked the USA. Both sides of the ocean. President Johnson didn't want any unnecessary commotion. Just forget it ever happened. Squash the investigation. No Israelis were punished for committing any violation. They said it was an accident, a thin disguise. Everyone who witnessed believes this is a lie. It was entirely intentional. That's what they say when Israel attacked the USA. 34 Americans dead, bombed or shot, hundreds more maimed on the spot. But the big thing about which the brass was concerned were the NSA documents. They wanted burned so they could classify everything. Top secret. Tell all the survivors, don't talk about it. But finally the truth has seen the light of day when Israel attacked the USA. It was the 8th of June, 1967, in the middle of the Six-Day War.
David, if you're still with us, those are two just remarkable songs and just commentaries on events that you do so well and so prolifically. It's just a remarkable thing. I want to tell folks that I belong to the David Rovics CSA, which is an annual contribution that you can make and have first dibs on all the songs that come your way through your email address. There's also probably a Patreon and a Substack where you can support David's remarkable work and his remarkable touring all through the United States and Europe and other places. And especially, David just went to Mexico, where he got to I believe, do some gigs and also tour some of the sites of the St. Patrick's Battalion, which, if you folks don't know about that, look up David's song about that. Irish soldiers in the Mexican-American War who said, screw this stuff. You can use a little more colorful language than this. We're fighting on the wrong side. This is the U.S. is England, and and Mexico is the Irish for us. And hey, guess what? They're Catholics. We're Catholics. We're going to the other side. And they did, and they suffered for their affiliation. And it's an amazing song and an amazing story. I check out especially St. Patrick's Battalion from David Rovics.
Thank you so much, Dean.
You're welcome. You want to tell us a tiny bit about your time in Mexico?
Oh, it was amazing. And I mean, I would just say, like, anybody who can afford to go to Mexico for the month of March or any portion of it should do so, because it'll be very therapeutic, because the whole country celebrates St. Patrick's Day, Irish music and dance, and the San Patricios for the entire month of March, and I couldn't believe it till I got there. But it's a wonderful, wonderful thing that all these celebrations and of course the song and the history is so deeply appreciated there, as is just music and life generally, and it's a really wonderful place. And I maybe soon become a refugee there as soon as I get kicked out of the U.S. That's where I'll go.
Yeah. I haven't been to Mexico in 41 years, but I had the most amazing 2 weeks there when I was in college. And I need to tell the story and write about that time. Churubusco, I love that word, and that's one place that David went to. And another thing is that we share is our really just devotion to President Claudia Sheinbaum, just a beacon of calm and wisdom, and in the face of a horrific adversary like Donald Trump. And she's written some great stuff, and she's talked some great things about this whole tariff nonsense. And Claudia Sheinbaum, I've been attending her morning press conferences, which are just so wonderful and orderly. Just to compare it with what's this? Leavitt, what's her name? Caroline Levitt. Oh, talk about toxic, and talk about not wanting to address any issues, and just skirting everything or kicking anybody out who is in opposition. Anyway, that's Claudia Sheinbaum. David, thanks for those two songs, and we're going to play one more after Phil's talk. And if you're able to be with us again, one correction, David.
I'll be here.
I think that Mahmoud Khalil has not been deported. There's still some judicial review, and
The judge, 2 days ago, the judge said in Louisiana said that he could now be deported. I don't know if the actual deportation is.
but he hasn't been
begun,
yet,
but-
and there's still some appeal possibilities, and let's hope for the best. It's just so unconscionable that they're flying all these people to Louisiana. It's just like, how is that right? How is that legal? Anyway, I digress, because I want to be on the topic of introducing Phil Tourney, who I'm gonna let him introduce himself and tell us about himself, because this whole thing is a story of not only a tragic thing that happened when he was a young man, but about his trajectory of trying to get this story to the world. This story is really, nobody knows about it. I wear this hat in airport, and I get, oh, thank you for your service. My father served in World War II in the Pacific, and then I get to tell people, do you know what the USS Liberty is about? And if I have time to be able to explain what happened, and it's but mostly the comment is not about, oh yeah, I know the USS Liberty. It's mostly, oh, thank you for your service, as if I was Phil Tourney or something who served and sacrificed. I heard Phil first on an unlikely place, an interview with Candace Owens, who is that bizarre combination of religious right wing but really powerful voice, and really well followed commentator. And there's several on the right who agree that Israel policy is just wrong and screwed up. Anyway, it was a really wonderful and very thorough interview that Candace Owens gave to Phil, and that was on a huge platform. And now he's just as willing to join us here on our humble stage, our humble platform. We do happen to have 70,000 subscribers on YouTube, but here we are, just a few of us here live and able to here, Phil Tourney. Hey, Phil, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we're really looking forward to hearing from you.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that, Dane, and thanks for the invite and everybody that's listening. And I'll, excuse me, I'll start with this. The only reason I'm here is because of Jesus Christ. His power and his love kept some of us alive to tell the truth about the real story about the USS Liberty and what really happened. And the savagery, I mean, it was a savage attack, and I'll get into that. But all power goes to Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, and that's why I'm here today. That's God saved me for days just like this. So here I am. I would like to say that one more thing before I get really involved is that libertyveterans.org. Libertyveterans.org is our organization. I'm four-time president of that organization. I'm very proud to be the president of the gallant crew of the USS Liberty. And there's not a whole lot of us left anymore. I don't know how many, probably 50, 45. We got 20 coming to the reunion this year in Norfolk, Virginia, which is going to be one big celebration of the men that gave their lives for this great country, that were betrayed by their own government as well as the Zionist state that tried to murder us all. We started out going to West Africa. That's where we always went. We cruised up and down the west coast of Africa. This is our third cruise, or my third cruise. The ship only had 4 cruises before it was almost completely destroyed. Well, they had to scrap the ship anyway. Well, they scrapped it so nobody would know the truth about it. They sold it for $100,000, if you can believe that. And the ship was worth $40 million, so they wanted the evidence gone. We arrived on station in Abidjan, Africa, West Africa. We were there on 4 or 5 hours. We got emergency orders to leave. Everybody get back on board. Leave, get out of there now. We got everybody back on board, and we took off for parts unknown. We didn't know what was going on. We end up in Rota, Spain. We pick up 3 linguists, 3 Marines, and 1 NSA CIA type personnel, Alan Blue. He was killed. 2 of the Marines were killed. 1 survived, Bryce Lockwood. He's the only Marine that survived. There was only 3 of them on board, and he's the only one that survived a torpedo blast. We left Rota, Spain. We got into the Eastern Mediterranean on the 7th of June. When we got there, the Israeli aircraft would fly over us over and over again. A flying boxcar, a DC-3, and smaller prop job planes. All of them were clearly marked with the Star of David. Before we got even into this area, Captain McGonigal asked for a destroyer escort because we were going into a war zone all by ourselves. We didn't have any armament but 450 caliber machine guns, which we used for repel boarders if that was ever the case. So we were basically unarmed going into that area when you got 2 different governments fighting each other. On June the 8th, the same thing happened again. They'd come down, they'd dip their wings and wave at it. We could see the pilots. We'd wave at them and they waved at us. So we felt very comfortable that our best buddies in the whole wide world were there to help us in case anything happened. Because we thought the Arabs were going to come get us. We had no idea. We could see the bombs going off on the banks, on the Sinai. Black smoke bombs, I mean, billowing way up high. You knew some really bad things were going on over there, and we were glad we weren't on the ground there getting part of it, or all of it. Around 1:15, 1 o'clock, we had a general quarters drill. It was a chemical drill, and I was in damage control forward. I was assistant on-scene leader, and we were like pretending like we were washing down the ship. I was in an impregnated suit, like washing the chemicals off the ship. And it was so hot that day, I thought I was going to pass out. I came close to it because it was over 100 degrees on the deck. Very, very hot, especially in a suit that you can't even breathe in hardly. So that was finally over. We stowed our gear, and I went up to the starboard gun mount. The starboard gun mount, the sound powered phones weren't working. So I got an ice seaman to come up there. He's a good friend of mine, David Skolak. We were engineering together. And he says, I'll take care of it, Tourney. I got it. And the boatswain mate was up there too, manning one of the guns. And I looked up the bridge and I saw the old man. I says, guys, I better get out of here because I don't want to be caught lollygagging around. You know, he didn't allow stuff like that. You were either working or on watch or doing something. You didn't just stand around. So I said, I'll see you later. Thanks for getting this fixed. I left the starboard gun mount, walked down, got down the stairs, walked to my workstation. It was about 30 seconds away on the starboard side in the shipfitter shop. Just before that, they said, prepare to, test the engines on the motor whaleboat, which was right next to my workstation in the shipfitter shop. And all of a sudden, it just blew up, I thought. I started to go out the starboard hatch. Chief grabbed me by the nape of the neck and said, we're under attack, man. Don't go out there. And, oh boy, I'll tell you, everything was fast and furious. I run to my GQ station up forward. The chief petty officer there, Hal Thompson, he was hit, and he says, you got it, Tourney. So at that point, I became on-scene leader of the forward repair party, a 20-year-old kid. But I did know my job, and I was proud of being a firefighter and learning the things I did in the Navy. I will give him credit for that, no doubt. The two men I just left up there were blown to bits. Just 30 seconds before I left there, they were blown to bits. Now, the jet aircraft that were attacking us were unmarked Mystere and Mirage jets. They were not marked. They were black. The planes were black. We didn't have a clue who was attacking us. We thought it was the Arabs. Now, on one of the first passes, and there was many of them, they took out every tuning antenna on that ship, and we had many, many, many of them. Every tuning antenna on that ship was hit with heat-seeking missiles. Every watertight door on that ship was hit with one or more penetrations. The American flag we had up was very bright and clear. It was a brand new flag. Brand new flag. They shot that down. They put up another 5x8, another brand new flag. And they shot that one down. I mean, if they didn't know we were an American ship, nobody did. But we thought it was the Arabs that was attacking us. And finally, we put up holiday colors. I didn't. Other shipmates did. Joe Metters, and I believe his name was David Russell. David, I believe his name was. I'm not sure. They put up a 7x13. I mean, you could see that from the moon. Beautiful, bright, brand new 7x13 holiday colors. And the attack continued. Terry Haldebardier. Now, this attack lasted about 25 or 30 minutes, just the air attack. Terry Haldebardier, a radioman, took off that one antenna because it wasn't tuning correctly, and he took it offline. That's the only reason it wasn't hit. Terry ran a long wire, taking machine gun fire and rocket fire to that antenna, and got it tuned in and got it working, and we got a message out. Rockstar, Rockstar, under attack by unknown jet aircraft. Help us, help us. Rockstar, Rockstar, under attack by unknown jet aircraft. Help, help. This went out to the 6th Fleet. They picked it up as far as Vietnam and who else knows where. But everybody knew we were under attack by unknown jet aircraft. Captain Tully off the USS Saratoga, he was a very decorated World War II fighter pilot. Very, very good man. He sent rescue aircraft to come to our aid right away. off the Saratoga. And he said for some reason America did not launch. Just as soon as those planes hit the horizon, they were recalled by McNamara, Secretary of Defense. The planes went back to base. He says, turn those planes around, get them back to base, get them back to base. So they went back. They landed back on their ship. Then the America and the Saratoga relaunched aircraft to come help us. This was the time frame that they could have saved many, many lives. LBJ got on the line and said, I don't care about a few dead sailors. I will not embarrass my ally Israel. And how did he know who was attacking us if we didn't? We hadn't identified anybody at that time because they were unmarked. We thought it was Arabs. But our own government recalled rescue aircraft to come to our aid. And that's never happened before in history. That a flagged American ship, especially a Navy ship, was attacked by a foreign government and nobody did anything about it. They let them get by with it. Why? Well, I'll get to that after I get through the attack. The jet aircraft left. It's about 25, 30 minutes, like I said, and we thought, oh my God, it's over. I mean, you can't imagine the dead and the wounded. I mean, you see pieces of meat, bone of your brothers, others lying in pain on the deck, trying to get them in and save their lives. But they had no mercy, man. They shot at everything that moved. Firefighters, stretcher bearers, anything that moved, they would try to kill. Then the torpedo boats got there. We saw the torpedo boats. We thought, oh my God, here they are. They're come to help. It was because we could see the Zionist flag, the Israeli flag on there. We thought, oh, thank God. Because when we went into this war zone, we had stars of Davids all throughout inside the ship because we wanted Israel to win. They were our ally. I mean, listen, we truly thought they were our ally, and they weren't. They're not our ally. They weren't then, and they aren't now. The torpedo boats fire 5 torpedoes at us. Now this torpedo attack lasted another hour and a half. Our government knew we were out there sitting ducks. They circled the ship and circled the ship. They fired the torpedoes, 5 of them. I saw 2 go aft. I don't know where the other 2 went, but I know where one went. Right into the CT spaces and blew 25 of America's beautiful spies to bits. Murdered them all, blew them to bits. It picked the ship up completely up out of the water and slammed it back down. I thought it was going to roll over to the side and roll over. It just rolled over to the starboard side, it rolled and just stopped. The only reason that ship stopped like that, and it wasn't supposed to, we should have sunk, was the hand of God was holding that ship up. The hand of God was there. Nobody else came to help us, but Jesus Christ did. That's why I'm here right now. They circled the ship and circled the ship, firing and firing and firing at everybody. Cannons and rockets, cannons and machine guns. Every life raft we had on that ship was shot up except 3. And there was enough life rafts on that ship for 294 souls, and there were only 3 left. 3. We put them over the side. We were going to put our most seriously wounded in them so they'd have a chance at life. But no, the torpedo boats would have none of that. They shot 2 of the life rafts out of the water. They sunk. They took 1 aboard their boat as a trophy of the kill. It's probably I heard it was in Haifa. It could be anywhere. I don't know. But that's why I heard it was. We didn't see any help for 17 hours. They left us out there for 17 hours when help was only 40 minutes away. They didn't even send a Piper Cub over to see if we were still afloat or not. They wanted us sunk, but the depravity and the savagery of the Zionist state that attacked our ship is unforgivable, and it's also unthinkable our government put us in that position. Out of 294 crew members, 2/3 of the crew were either dead or wounded. I was walking wounded. I was very fortunate. Very fortunate. Yeah, I was wounded, but not bad enough I had to go get, go to a hospital or anything right at that time. The torpedo boats, when they finally left, and they did a lot of damage. I mean, we had napalm burners up. That was from the airplanes. I mean, we had so much going on, you couldn't believe it. I mean, the attack on the USS Liberty lasted as long as the attack on Pearl Harbor, and nobody gave a damn. The Navy did try to help us. I don't blame the Navy, not one bit. I blame the higher ups of that outfit, like who was the commander of Europe forces, commander, or well, he was the supreme commander, McCain, John S. McCain Jr., John McCain's daddy. No wonder he never wanted to talk about the USS Liberty. But finally, we got help from the Sixth Fleet. USS America got off to our starboard side. USS Davis and USS Massey got along aside of us, and USS Davis hooked up with us. We brought over some damage controlment because we needed all the help we can get to shore up the bulkheads. They were like balloons. The bulkheads were. If those bulkheads wouldn't have held, I guess I wouldn't be here right now. But like I said, all power goes to Jesus Christ. They got the most seriously wounded off, and there was a lot of them, and the men that had to be deported to some kind of definitive care. But all that through that night, Dr. Kiefer, he was wounded in his stomach, his abdomen. He had a life jacket around his belly to keep his guts in. He also had shrapnel wounds or bullet wounds in both of his knees. And he operated for 17 hours on those legs, and his body did that for 17 hours. I helped him in several operations. One of them was a man I'll never forget. His name was Blanchard, Gary Blanchard. He was hit, and he was hit bad. He said, I was onto his by his feet, and he said, "Would you please take off my socks? And my feet are very, very hot." And I took them off, and I rubbed his feet and tried to get some circulation. I went over to his left side and looked at him, and he says, "You think I'm going to die?" I said, "Yeah, I think you are, man. I'm sorry." Doc cut him open. He was dead. It was that bad, blown up. Gutted him like a deer, and put a few stitches in him and set him over to the side and went to work on another one. This went on all night until the next morning. They got everybody off that had to go, as I said before, and the Davis men, they really helped us. They stayed with us and took us. We went to Malta. But 2 days into our trip into Malta, we get a flag admiral, Admiral Isaac Kidd, and his underling, Ward Boston, came aboard the ship. He was a JAG officer. They wanted to get survivors' testimony about what we saw, what we heard, what we did, what we smelt, what we thought, and we did. But I do want to mention, I want to regress just a little bit now. The Israeli war room had us marked as American and friendly on their war table. And they also said to everybody, we know it's an American ship. And they changed the watch. And they said they took us off their war table and forgot we were there. We were no longer there. So how much sense does that make? None. And nobody could believe something like that. That's stupid. You think the Israelis are that stupid? They're not. And even the attacking jet aircraft, which David had in his song, they said, but it's an American ship. They said, you have your orders hit the ship. Hit it they did, and the consequences are well known.
Phil, hello, Phil. Can you hear me? We lost your sound. Can you check that you're not muted? Phil, he's not muted. And Phil, we've lost your sound, and he doesn't hear me either. He continues to talk. Is the sound coming through on YouTube by any chance? Or we just lost the sound.